A launch title for the Nintendo 64. Super Mario 64 was planned for the SNES using an updated version of the Super FX chip, having the name Super Mario FX. Due to technical limitations, development was moved to the Nintendo 64. The game took less than 2 years to develop, however Miyamoto had the idea for a 3D Mario game 5 years prior to release, whilst working on Star Fox for the SNES. Miyamoto likened the game to a 3D interactive cartoon, composed of 3D polygons as opposed to 2D sprites. These graphics were created using a toolkit called Nichiman N-Word, running on Silicon Graphics Onyx workstations. As this game was being developed at the same time as the Nintendo 64 console, developers had to estimate the capabilities of the system, and what they could, and more importantly, could not include. Early plans saw the game containing 72 stages as compared to the 15 we see today. The stages were cut due to the 8MB memory limit of the Nintendo 64 cartridge. There was also a planned multiplayer with Luigi as a playable character, but this could not be possible, again due to hardware limitations, and was pushed back to a sequel of the game. A sequel of the game was a no-brainer at the time, with 11.9 million copies of the game sold worldwide. Super Mario 64 2 was planned to be released on the Nintendo 64 disk drive, an add-on to increase the capabilities of the hugely successful Nintendo 64, which sold 32.93 million units worldwide total. The 64DD was not successful at all, selling less than 100,000 units in Japan, which was a catastrophic failure. The idea was good, an add-on that would allow the use of a 64MB magnetic cartridge, increasing the memory by 8 times, as compared to the original 8MB memory. The failure was probably due to the DD being released at the end of the N64's life cycle. This meant that any plans for a sequel came to a screeching halt. You would have to wait until the release of the remake on the Nintendo DS, boasting 4 different playable characters, a multiplayer minigame mode, and a few extra stages for good measure. The DS version includes the addition of 7 bunnies on the castle grounds, to be caught by the 4 different playable characters. Each character has different locations to find the bunnies, and catching them will reward you with 7 keys, 1 for each bunny. The keys are used in the rec room, or the minigame room, and will unlock 7 different minigames for each character, in addition to the 2 that they start with just for being unlocked. The reason this has any relevance at all to the original Nintendo 64 title is that very early on, the game's physics were tested using a rabbit to move around and interact with Mario. This, the birth of MIPS the rabbit. MIPS was named after the measurement of a computer's processing speed, millions of instructions per second. It is also the underlying assembly language that the hardware of the Nintendo 64 runs on. MIPS and Mario were also used together to help develop the controller for the Nintendo 64. The system needed an analog stick for accurate movement, and the C buttons for camera movement. MIPS made it as a kind of Easter egg into Super Mario 64, located in the basement of the castle. If you manage to catch the golden rabbit, you'll be rewarded with a star. Miyamoto was a visionary, in every sense of the word. In 1991, he hinted at a Metal Mario, stating, "Who knows, he could wear metal clothes." This referring to the metal cap power-up that made it into the game. He also based the character on assistant director Takashi Tezuka's wife. Miyamoto explained, "She is very quiet normally, but one day she exploded, maddened by all the time Tezuka spent at work. In the game there is now a character that shrinks when Mario looks at it, but when Mario turns away, it will grow large and menacing." This, if you haven't guessed it already, was referring to the ghost enemy Boo. There was also elements that didn't quite make it into the game, like combining power-ups, a winged metal Mario. Also, and more notably, a rideable horse that Miyamoto was so invested in that it made it into the next Zelda game, Ocarina of Time. So what remains of Mario today? Well, a surprisingly large amount considering the game was released in 1996. There are fan-made games and mods released for this game very often, from the awesome Mario 64 Odyssey mod, which allows the player to control enemies that collide with Mario's hat, to the downright creepy Super Mario 64 Toad Edition, or Super Toadio 64. There's also a very popular speedrunning community that tries to complete the game in the fastest time possible. The records for completing the game with 120 stars, 70 stars, 16 stars, 1 star, and 0 stars are constantly changing, and it is great to know the game is receiving so much attention so many years after its release.
Oh my fucking god, dude! I'm a fucking legend!
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and would like me to make more videos like the one you just watched, hit the like button. Comment down below letting me know what video I should make next, and subscribe to keep up to date with all new video releases.